Hello, my name is Domingo Garcia. I'm the national president of LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens. We're the largest Latino civil rights organization and the oldest, founded in 1929. We have been engaged in civic endeavors since our founding in 1929, fighting to get rid of the poll tax, the white-only primary, restrictions regarding people being able to vote, segregated schools, and so on. And we continue to do that fight here as we go into 2022. And we have been able to be engaged in voter registration and voter turnout efforts. LULAC is a nonpartisan organization. We don't take sides in the election, but we do want to make sure that every vote is counted and every vote has the opportunity to make a difference for the candidate of their choice of especially Latino voters. To start out with, I'd like to state that this is a very historic election. There were a lot of firsts that happened during this election involving the Latino community. For example, Delia Ramirez was elected as the first Latina congresswoman from the state of Illinois. Maxwell Frost became the first Gen Z member of Congress, an Afro-Latino Cubano from Florida. Ana Paulina Luna, a Republican U.S. Air Force veteran, will become Florida's first Mexican-American woman in Congress. Alex Padilla became the first elected Latino senator from the state of California. He was appointed, but he was elected by a landslide in California. Latinos continue to increase our voter presence across the board, especially in those key states where you're seeing the tabulations still ongoing. Latinos make up 19% of the population, but we only have 9% of the members of Congress that serve at the House and the Senate. Those are areas where LULAC, as well as Southwest Voter and other organizations, are working to increase those numbers. This year, we had 50 Latinos who ran as Democrats for congressional seats and 33 Latinos who ran for as Republicans for U.S. House seats. That's a record number of Latinos running in both political parties. In addition, we have noticed that Latinos made a key difference in several battleground states as we're seeing the returns come in. In states like Arizona, where it looks like Senator Kelly's going to be held on, the Latino vote was crucial in both the Senate and gubernatorial races. In Nevada, where the votes are still being counted, but where it appears that Senator Cortez Masto may be able to hold on. And again, the Latino vote, especially in Las Vegas and Clark County, continues to be the deciding factor in elections statewide in Nevada. In New Mexico, all the Democrats and all the Latinos that were up for office swept and got elected. California, same thing. Colorado, the Latino vote was crucial in states like Denver, and an ongoing congressional race where a Latina could be elected to the U.S. Congress from the southern part of Colorado in a new district, but that race is still too close to call. But we might have the first Latina congresswoman from the state of Colorado if she's able to pull out the election. And this was a repudiation of certain Republicans' tactics to use Latinos as political piñatas and use immigration as a wedge issue. The fact of the matter is it's backfired. In states like Arizona, California, and New Mexico, those type of politics of saying build a wall, deport them all, and hate mongering just does not work. And while Republicans have made some inroads, they've also lost a lot of support because of those type of racially tinged tribal type of politics that we're seeing from certain sectors of the Republican Party. But the takeaway is some Republicans did great. Governor DeSantis in Florida was able to carry Miami-Dade County, a county that Hillary Clinton had carried by almost 20-something points, and he carried it for the first time, meaning certain Latinos, especially those that are refugees, such as Cubans and Venezolanos and Nicaraguans who become citizens, actually tend to favor the Republican Party, primarily because of its stance against anti-socialism and authoritarian governments and all that. Even though we may disagree whether that's true or not, the fact of the matter is there is an appeal there, and Governor DeSantis did make inroads in the Latino community. Same thing happened in Texas, where Governor Abbott was able to use his niece as a Theo Abbott and made a big input into getting the Latino vote in Texas. He started in McAllen, Texas, in the Valley, which is about 90% Hispanic. He ended his campaign there. And it kind of paid off because he wasn't expected to win by as big a margin as he did against Beto. But yet Beto did carry all the counties of South Texas from El Paso to Brownsville. He was able to carry all those counties and keep them as Democrat, but Abbott made some gains. And of the 3 congressional districts there, the 4 congressional districts in South Texas, the Democrats won 3, but the Republicans did break in and were able to carry the 1st district, even though Latinos are really not the majority in that district. But a Latina Republican was elected, and she becomes the first Latina Republican in the history of Texas to go to Congress after the interim election that happened last year. So I think it's the message is very clear. The Latino vote is up for grabs. And if Democrats don't take them seriously, this could have profound impacts in the 2024 presidential election. The fact of the matter is the road to the White House goes through the barrios and las colonias of Latino America. And if you want to get our vote, you got to talk about bread and butter issues, economics, Medicaid and Medicare for all, the raising the minimum wage, which in Texas is still $7.25 and hasn't been raised. The ability of entrepreneurs to start their businesses while being redlined by banks. Those are the things that Jose and Maria care about. Those are the things that will get their vote as we get to the presidential election here. And we believe that Latinos are situated to go and make that difference, especially when we look at those crucial swing states that are in play. And the fact of the matter, even in Pennsylvania, Latinos were the difference there. I'll let Mrs. Camarillo give you the numbers there. And LULAC is announcing, we're saying in a LULAC action team, vote team to Georgia, where it's been announced that there will be a runoff. We sent a team there 2 years ago, and we are going to be sending a team because there are over 200,000 registered Latinos to vote in Georgia. And the margin between Herschel Walker and Warnock is so close that that could be the margin of victory in that Georgia seat. And we want to make sure that every Latino and Latina in the state of Georgia is able to exercise and get their vote out. And we are going to be doing door-to-door texting and calling and making sure that that vote gets out in that crucial runoff election. So LULAC continues to work on voter registration, voter turnout. The numbers show that we have the potential to maximize our presence at the White House, State House, and at city halls across America, and we will continue to do that. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you Lydia Camarillo, who is the chairwoman president of Southwest Voter Registration Project, which did several analysis of the vote, and she will give you more specific numbers. Ms. Camarillo. I think you're muted.
Thank you, Domingo. It's a pleasure to be here with you today to discuss with all of you what we think about the elections and do an analysis. It's early. We won't know for a couple of days the final results in some states, including California and Nevada. There are 4 main points to take away from midterm elections at this time. The Senate and the House control are still competitive despite initial one-sided projections. The Senate is currently at 48-48. Republicans must win 2 U.S. Senates to take control of the Senate. Congress is 213 Democrats to 222 Republicans. The Democrats need to win 5 districts to keep control of the House. Nevada and Georgia will determine who controls the Senate. Georgia is headed to a runoff. California, Colorado, Nevada, and New Mexico congressional districts might just determine who controls the House. The Latino vote turned out in record numbers. Redistricting is an important factor to consider. In Texas, 15 districts were either weakened or not drawn as Latino districts, Latino majority districts. Congressional districts were drawn in such a way that Latinos could not and did not elect candidates of choice in Texas and across the country. For weeks, political pundits projected a red wave. Some of these politically erroneous narratives argue that either Latinos would not show to the polls or they would overwhelmingly support the GOP agenda. Southwest SVREP projected that in Arizona, 859,000 Latinos would cast their vote. This, by comparison to 2018, is 588,000 voters. It's an increase that is dramatic and is going to make the difference and has made the difference already in Georgia in the U.S. Senate seat. In Georgia, 118,000 Latino voters cast their vote last night compared to 101 Latino voters in 2018, 101,000. Nevada, we're expecting 199,000, almost 200,000 Latino voters, making them an 18% share of the vote compared to 156,000 in 2018. In Texas, 2.9 million Latinos will have turned out, an increase of 1 million from the 1.9 million Latinos that voted in 2018. The Latino Texas share of the vote is at 26.5 compared to the 24.4 share in 2018. Over the next few days, weeks or so, we will know the results of the U.S. Senate and Congress. In Texas, CD 28, Henry Cuellar's won re-election, and Vicente Gonzalez, the incumbent of CD 15, who decided to run in CD 34, who was vacated by Vela, won the election. Its CD 15 was won by Republican nominee Monica de la Cruz. CD 15 is a congressional district that was weakened by Texas unconstitutional redistricting efforts. Texas redistricting impacted all 4 maps: the congressional, the state Senate, the state House, and the State Board of Education, which we filed a lawsuit. Southwest Voter, WCVI, LULAC, and 7 other organizations are suing to correct these maps under the legal challenge LULAC versus Abbott. In Colorado, CD8, the new congressional district comprised of 38% Latino, will likely elect Yarira Cabarero, a pediatrician from Adams County. In New Mexico, a Republican seat in Las Cruces, CD2, looks like Gabriel Vasquez will be the next member of Congress. California has several competitive districts across, according to the Non-Partisan Cook Report. California CD22, CD27. It also called Arizona 1, as I mentioned, Colorado 8, New Mexico 2, Texas 34, California 13, California 14, Nevada 1, Nevada 3, and Texas 28. We know that Texas 28 and 34 have already voted, and they voted for the Democratic incumbents, although Gonzalez was not an incumbent because he moved over, he was considered an incumbent as well. For the Los Angeles mayoral election, a very competitive election, it will be the Latino vote who determines the outcome of who wins. Latinos showed up to the polls in 2022 as they did in 2020 and in 2018. They will continue to show up. With ground investments, they will show up in record numbers again in 2024. Candidates and parties must invest, speak to the voters about their issues and what they mean. But let's look at Pennsylvania, for example. In Pennsylvania in 2020, the margin of victory was by 81,666 votes. 283,000 Latinos voted. 69% voted for Biden. Had the Latino vote stayed, Pennsylvania electoral votes would have gone to Trump. The Pennsylvania margin of victory for Fetterman, 167,841, with 94% reporting as of noon today. Southwest Voter projects that 195,000 Latinos will be voting. If Latinos had stayed home, we'd have a different scenario. That's the case in Georgia, Arizona, and the other states that are competitive and that will decide the outcome of these elections. Thank you.
Good. So we are still going to be doing analysis of the numbers as they come in. States that are still counting, like Nevada, California, and others. We are going to believe that it will show record numbers of Latinos turning out in multiple states. That's going to be the margin of victory for victors, Republican and Democrat. And it continues to show the impact of the Latino vote, and that the Latino vote really is up for grabs. It can go Republican, it can go Democrat, depends on who has the message, who has the investment to get that vote out as we approach the 2024 presidential elections. And we'll take any questions there may be. David, I don't know if you're monitoring that since I cannot see the chat. So if there's any questions that we can answer.
No questions on the chat, just so you know.
They're not? Okay. Yeah, I don't have it. I'm not close. Okay. Well, any final comments you'd like to make, Lydia?
The final comment I want to make, if anybody's interested, we can send you some PowerPoints as we're doing in further analysis. As we know, as we mentioned, Nevada and California and some of the other states are still counting. So we believe that this election demonstrated wholeheartedly, without exception, that Latinos do vote, that they turn out to vote. And we must remind ourselves that they voted in record numbers in spite of little to hardly any investment other than what groups like LULAC and other groups in Southwest Voter have done. For us at Southwest Voter, we targeted Arizona, California, Colorado, Georgia, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and of course, Texas. And of course, we're ready to do what we did in 2021, which is turn out voters with live calls in Georgia for the for the competitive election. And if there's any competitive elections, I know that Celia Israel, who's running for mayor in Austin, is going also to a runoff. So we're going to target that. Those are the last comments I have. And finally, I do want to say thank you to all of you who are listening to us. If you don't have any questions, se me hace raro, but we're here to respond, and we're here to tell you that don't listen to people that say, including pundits and folks out there, que no votamos. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to show our political power. And if we want to be relevant, we need to continue to do the work that we're doing. Thank you.
And by the way, a shout out to some people that didn't think they're going to make it. Lina Hidalgo continues to be the county judge of Harris County, Houston, Texas, the largest county in Texas and the third largest in the United States. And she won a tough re-election campaign. And again, the Latino vote in Harris County in Houston was decisive. They elected another Latina as a Harris County commissioner. So the Democrats now control with 3 Latinos, Adrian Garcia, Leslie Briones, and Lina Hidalgo, at the Harris County Courthouse, which is the largest courthouse in Texas and the third largest metro area in the United States. So you're seeing the Latino vote transform city after city. In Austin, Texas, the capital of Texas, a Latina is in the runoff for mayor of the city of Austin. So again, as we talk about, pues they don't vote, no hacen nada, están todos dormidos, et cetera, we're waiting for the sleeping brown giant to wake up. No, ya les picaron too many times, and ya se despertaron y se están moviendo. And every year we get another batch of 18-year-olds that are turning, they're eligible to vote and registering to vote. I'm from Dallas, Texas. We register about 5,000 new Latino voters every semester, just in DISD schools. So that's 10,000 voters in Dallas County, and of course you multiply that across the country, where there's Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, San Antonio, and you're seeing that demographics is there. But again, don't take it for granted they're all going to vote Democrat. In fact, you have a lot of Latinos that are very independent. There's some that are very pro-military, pro-police, pro-life. You have some that are pro-choice, very centric in terms of their views about how we want to deal with issues such as economic inequality, climate change, the issues of immigration. We have dreamers that are still waiting for that immigration reform bill to get passed. And LULAC is going to be making a big push in this lame duck session to see if we can get Republicans such as John Cornyn and Democrats such as Schumer and Pelosi to work on a bipartisan compromise before we go into the next session. And I'm always a cautious optimist, but I know it can be done. We did the DREAM Act. I did the in-state tuition bill back in the day. So I know we can move forward with these bills. So muchísimas gracias.
So there's a couple of questions on the chat. So we were doing, I guess, the intermission. So here's one of the questions. I think we should both respond. I'll take a stab first, and then you, and then we'll switch. What is the major issues Latinos voted on? We have always said and discussed this, and I don't think it's changed at all. There's a number of issues, and there's several polls that folks that are following Latinos. And let me just say that pollsters rarely poll a significant number of Latinos, and they always overpoll groups that are not Cubanos and Puerto Ricans, and underpoll Mexicanos. So and other groups. So let me just tell you that one of the things that is very clear is that jobs, economics, the concern for their economic and the inflation, the high prices of gas and food were the most interesting concern of all. They all care about Roe versus Wade. They did talk about that. The women did, some of the men. They also care about the environment. They care about health. Immigration is always there. It depends on the family. If there's someone that needs to become naturalized and eventually have the right to vote and not worry about anything, then it depends on the family. But the one issue that is consistent, equal to education, is jobs, jobs, jobs. The question becomes which party does a better job of taking the message. Republicans argue that they're better at keeping jobs. But if you look at the record of all the recent presidents, Biden has created the most jobs. So I think that the Latino electorate is very, very, very sophisticated. Domingo, I don't know if you want to answer that. And there's another question if you want to take.
I agree. It's all about jobs, bread and butter issues. I think that's what's the most important to every Latino and Latina family, just like it is to every American family. The fact of the matter is how much we're spending for groceries or gas, or how much we're getting. Are we getting the raise? Are we getting the promotion? And what opportunities do you have because your last name is Garcia, Lopez, Camarillo, or Sanchez? I mean, those are the things that I think move people to vote. And then there's some specialized areas. There's certain areas of California that care about what's happening in Venezuela and Cuba, while in the border, a lot of people care about what's happening on the border, what's happening in Eagle Pass or El Paso, and the impacts of immigration. They're both positive and negative, as well as issues such as energy. A lot of good paying jobs are in the energy field for Latinos in West Texas and in South Texas and in New Mexico. And that's driving some people to go vote. But I think, again, at the end of the day, it's jobs, bread and butter issues that drive Latinos to vote.
The second question is there a breakdown in age in Latinos? And I don't know if you want to go there first, or I can go there.
I haven't seen any nationwide stats yet. I can just give you Dallas County because I happen to have a wife who's a Dallas County commissioner, and she told me that the age group of 25 to 35 outvoted those over 60 for the first time in Dallas history. So that we have a large number of young people that are voting in significant numbers to outvote their grandparents or parents for the first time. And that's something unique. Normally you still see, especially in the larger voting population, mainly people over 55 voting as the biggest segment, the boomers, and you're not seeing the millennials and the Gen Zers vote in as large numbers as we've seen. But it looks like it's changing. I always say it's Bernie and Beto, the two Bs that drive that vote out when they ran for office, and they're still voting now, and they're starting to have an impact at the local level.
So the next question, I agree. There's very little data yet. Remember, we don't have a complete count yet. We don't know who actually voted. It takes a while before we actually get that data, but everything demonstrates and shows us a couple of things. First of all, let's remind ourselves the Latino electorate is a young electorate. The median age is 22 years old. Therefore, you can bet that the majority of the voters are going to be young. But I agree with the initial numbers that were provided by Commissioner Dr. Garcia out of Dallas, that I think those numbers mirror not only in Texas, in other counties, but as well as across the Southwest. We will know soon enough. But I do want to say something that I think is important. One of the other questions is how many Latinos voted for Abbott. It's too early to tell, but I can tell you the following. In Arizona, in 2020, 71% of the voters voted for Biden. In Georgia, 69% of the Latino electorate voted for Biden. In Michigan, 76% of the Latino electorate voted for Biden. In Pennsylvania, 69% of the Latino electorate voted for Biden. In Wisconsin, 70% of Latino voted for Biden. In Texas, 72% of the Latino electorate voted for Biden. It varies depending from election to election. I would argue that the local elections, it will be much, much higher. I would also argue that for in the governor seats and the congressional districts, they also vary. For example, when Bonilla was going after a bid for re-election, and Ciro Rodriguez decided to run against him in 2006, I believe. That was the year, I think. I was asked by the press, how many Latinos are going to vote, since we have a Republican that has all the money in the world. He's anointed by the Republicans. It's a Republican state. what's going to be the number. And I said 8%. That's exactly what took place. So I think we have to take a look at all the different numbers to see that we must understand the Latino electorate can easily split the ticket, vote for one party or the other, decide to vote for Green Party or Libertarian. But our point at Southwest Voter and LULAC and the WCBI is very simple. Latinos vote, they make a decision, and they decide the future of this country. And starting here in the Southwest, all the way to Texas, to the Southwest and the Northeast and the rest of the country. In addition to CD15, did redistricting impact other districts in Harris County? Well, I don't know, Domingo, if you want to go first, but I'm ready to go if you want to go for it.
We are challenging in LULAC versus Abbott that there should have been another congressional district created in Harris County that would have been a majority Latino district to go along with Julia Garcia's district. Unfortunately, that did not happen. We believe that the redistricting done by Texas was unconstitutional, illegal, and violated the Voting Rights Act. We hope to have our day in court, and we're pursuing that to have those changes. Unfortunately, that wasn't done by this election, and we have to live with the lines that we have now.
So I think that the only other thing that I would add to the point of the redistricting, remember that in Texas, when we say, or as part of my introduction comments that I said that there were 15 districts at the congressional level, 2 of them were weakened, District 23 and 15, which happens every single year at the congressional level. Every time there's redistricting, that's when they either pull out performing precincts of Latinos who vote, which is what happened in 2011, and we won. And they're also, because of the population growth and Texas gaining 2 congressional districts, we believe with Maldiv, LULAC, and the rest of the folks who are part of this lawsuit, that we could have had a new congressional district in Dallas, while still moving most of the district where VC is in Fort Worth. We believe that there's another district in Harris County, while still complementing CD29, which is where Congresswoman Garcia resides, and then another district that would be part of Central Texas. So we believe 3 congressional districts were not drawn and 2 were weakened, so we lost 5. That's basically the same thing that happened at the Senate level. That's basically the thing that happened at the State House level. And of course, we also lost districts that could have been drawn, and one was weakened for the State Board of Education. So we will continue to fight for this. It's not unique to Texas, but Texas always is a superstar at violating our voting rights. Domingo, I think there's one more question. Okay. They do a better job of branding. How do we orchestrate our message? That's the next question.
I think the message, again, I think simple is better. And whoever is running for office and whichever political party you may belong to, I think when you talk to people about what they care about, they're at the kitchen table and they're having their pozole or their tamales for Christmas, whatever that may be, it's going to be, how is my life better or worse based on who is governing me as mayor or governor or president of the United States or my congressperson? Are they responding to the situations in my schools? Why are my wages not keeping up with the increases in prices and things like that? So I think that is the message, is what can I do to help Jose and Maria improve their families' lives? If you can deliver that message in a concise, direct, and honest manner, then it just doesn't happen during political season, but you actually deliver after you get in power, then you will be able to get Latinos and Latinas to vote for you. And as we've seen in California, they become the decisive factor, and now they elect a U.S. Senator.
Perfect, thank you. So I think there are no other questions. There are a few folks who did ask for the PowerPoint. We will send it to you. If you do us a favor, I know one of you already gave us your email. Send them to David, who I think his email, but we also have David Cruz, but we also have ours is at Camarillo at SVREP.org. With that, I want to thank you. On my part, justice is going to do much better thanks to the Latino vote. Gracias.
Again, Domingo Garcia from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., saying que su voto vale y hasta la victoria. Thank
Y
you.
su voto es su voz. Hasta pronto.